and those are actually Amborro's treats. So Amborro is one of our animals that we do some training with at the zoo, and one of the reasons why we train with him is because he's just so smart. Parrots are a very smart bird, especially our macaws. So with that, every time that I ask him to do something, or if he does something correctly, like staying quiet, he will get a treat from us today. Yeah, there we go. So blue and gold macaws also have very, very strong beaks, as we can see here. If he picks up his face just a little bit, his beak is very, very strong, and it's able to kind of crack some of the biggest nuts and strongest nuts to open. So I actually currently have right now a Brazil nut, and we'll see if he wants to crack that open for us really quickly. Here we go. And he's also using his tongue a little bit to open that as well. There you go. So his tongue actually is very cool too. It's not like our tongue. It's a little different. It's a little bit more dry and a little scaly, and it also has a type of kind of like bone that's called a hyoid apparatus. And that hyoid apparatus bone actually helps him to kind of penetrate some of those fruits and other thicker substances like this nut that he has here, and allows him to kind of use that tongue a little bit more working than ours were. So it's a little bit stronger than ours. And it allows him to kind of peel things open and eat. Before we kind of hopped on, we actually gave him some oranges. And those oranges, he was actually kind of rubbing them in his mouth, and he would squeeze the juice out and kind of swallow the juice. So we'd use his tongue to kind of push those juices out. What are you doing? He's giving himself a nice little fan right now. All right, do we have any
No questions so far, but I have a question. Yeah. How is he able to hold that nut in his hand?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll kind of, oh, he put it down. So I'll turn to the side a little so you guys can hopefully see. So he is actually holding his nut there with his foot, and they are actually very cool feet and very specific to parrots. So they're called zygodactyl. And that means two toes pointing forward and two toes pointing backwards. And these toes actually allow him to hold things like he is right now and grip onto branches when he's in the trees also. So macaws are arboreal species, which means tree dwelling, and they need to be able to hold on and perch for long periods of time. So when they are perching on those trees, those feet actually do have some extra muscles in there too when they're holding on. And when you see these birds kind of squat down a little bit to perch on those trees, they also have that muscle just kind of constricts and clamps onto the branch. So he's actually not able to fall in that position. So he's able to sleep and everything while standing up. And the only thing he needs to do to release is to stand up. And then those muscles release, and he is able to go ahead and move on.
We have a couple questions coming in. One of the ones that comes up a lot, what is his favorite thing to eat? What does he like to eat?
Ooh, that's a great question. So Amborro does like a few things, but most of the things he likes to eat are concentrates. So he loves his pellets, and he loves his nuts, and he does love oranges as well, and he ate some banana too. So a few fruits and nuts are kind of his favorite thing to eat.
Someone asked if Amborro can fly.
Ooh, that's a great question too. So Amborro, individually, he cannot fly. Macaws are a flighted species, but they have to learn how to fly before the age of 2. And Amborro just never had that opportunity, so he now does not know how to fly. But he does love to stretch his wings out, as you just saw, and work those other muscles in his wings as well sometimes.
Couple other questions is where is he from in the wild, and does he have any natural predators?
Ooh, so where is Amborro specifically from? Specifically, Amborro did not come from the wild. He was born in human care. But if you were to find a macaw out in the wild, they would live in the rainforests of Central and South America.
And then does he have any predators there?
Ooh, any predators? So some predators might be larger cats in that area. Maybe other birds of prey might be a predator for him too. But in very large flocks, as they do have, it's a little bit intimidating for some of those predators to come and try and get him. But yes, they do have a few natural predators.
We did have one question. Does he have any children?
Does he have any children? No, Amborro currently does not have any chicks of his own. Amborro here likes to be alone, so we allow him to have that ability. And he gets a lot of his socializing from two of his trainers, which would be me, and then one of our keepers, Julia.
And then you mentioned he likes to be alone, but does the macaw species itself like to be alone, or are they more of a social animal?
Yeah, that's great. So they are a very highly social animal, and that's why he said that he gets a lot of social interaction from me and his other trainer. He just is very picky on who he chooses to work with and who he enjoys to be around. So it's a little bit harder to introduce those different macaws to him. So right now he is very comfortable and very happy with both of us. So that's kind of how we're socializing him right now.
Does he like grapes was another question.
Ooh, does he like grapes? So he, like I said, he kind of prefers more of those oranges and the bananas. That's what he's normally going to eat. And he has some carrots too, but he's going to gravitate more towards the nuts and things like that. But that's his personal preference. A lot of macaws actually do eat quite a bit of fruit during their life, and they will fly from tree to find those fruit as well.
How old is Amborro, and then also how long can they live?
That's a great question. So Amborro's around 26 years old. Yes, he sounds very old for an animal, right? But in actuality, they will live to be in their 80s, especially in human care. So he has a long life to live. So we kind of calculate that as pretty much human years. Yeah.
Are boys and girls of this particular animal different colors?
So, not for this particular animal. There are some bird species, though, that do have different coloring to tell between a male and female. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. A lot of people have been asking, why does he keep talking?
Oh, yes. Amborro loves to talk, and he loves to be the center of attention. So that's kind of what he's doing right now. So, yes, he will kind of chime in what he feels like he needs to say the whole time.
We had a couple different times people asking, what do their babies look like? Are they going to come out looking all colorful, or are they going to be naked looking with very little feathers?
Yes, so I'm going to use a big word. These babies, when they're born or when they hatch, they are called artificial. All right, so that means that they need to be cared for by their parents before they can fly off and be alone. So they will hatch, and they will not have a lot of feathers or anything like that on their body. They will grow into that, and their eyes will open as they grow up. Yeah.
And then we had another question of, does he like to eat kiwi? And then just going over, he's from South America. Someone asked that again.
Yes, so does he like kiwi? I'm not sure if we ever have.
I don't think we've given him
kiwi yet. So that brings up a good point. We have a team at the zoo called our commissary team, and they prepare a lot of our diets for our animals, and they do a lot of research on what animals should be eating and what they should not be eating, and they try to make sure to get in a good variety of things. So currently we have not seen that yet. That may be something in the future, though.
All right, and then we had another one of, how long do you think his tail feathers are?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Probably about a little over a foot long. Yep, and they use those tail feathers for balance and for as they're flying and while they're climbing in trees as well.
And then, do they lose their feathers is a question that we have.
Do they lose their feathers? Yes, they do. And we actually do have a couple of these feathers that he has lost over time. So birds, sometimes they go through something we call a molt, which is just like losing your hair, but all at once, and they'll kind of grow those other feathers back. So he's lost a few of his tail feathers before, but as you can tell, he still has quite a few tail feathers there. And yes, they do grow back, and they come in nice and bright and shiny.
We did have a couple of questions. Does he know any words or animal noises?
Ooh, he does know a few words and a few animal noises. We can see if he will do that now. I was kind of waiting for him to finish that nut because it was kind of a big, good one for him. And if you might not be able to see, but he has food all over his face right now. He is a very messy eater. All right, do you want to try and do some of these words? I know my mic isn't very close to your face, but tiger, Tiger. Maybe not. We'll try another one. Whistle? Nope, he's not going to do it for us right now. That does bring up a good point for us, though, too. He is kind of still munching on that food, so that could have been my fault as well. But when we do train our animals at the zoo, it is we use positive reinforcement. So that means if I ask Amborro to do something and he does not want to, he has that choice. He doesn't have to do anything that I ask him to. But if he does do something I ask him to, he does get a treat, which he's kind of been getting a few extra treats before we started to get him kind of acclimated to the room. So he's probably a little full right now.
All right, how many different types of macaws are there? That's a question that we had.
Yes, so there are quite a few. There's about 19 different species of macaws, and there are, unfortunately, 2 that are extinct currently. Luckily, blue and golds are actually like the least concern right now. So they they're not really on that list currently.
And then we've had a couple, does he have any teeth?
Does he have any teeth? No. So his beak is what he uses as his teeth, and that beak, like I said, helps him to kind of peel things open. And without teeth, that's when he's using that hyoid bone in his tongue to kind of manipulate his food a little bit more.
And then we had a couple of, is his eyesight good? And then why does he also have those black lines around his eyes?
Yeah, so those black lines are actually feathers, and they are small individual feathers that kind of line up and create those lines on his face. And that's just something that is common for this species to have. So that's why he has those. And if some of you that were asking if he had good eyesight, yes, he has very good eyesight. And he actually shows some of his behaviors and or feelings with his eyes too. So sometimes when he's like really upset, he'll pin his eyes, which means he will dilate his eyes a little bit and look at something. So then we can kind of tell if he's not happy with a situation or when his eyes are more of a dilated normal state.
There are a couple questions when it comes to where is his favorite place to climb?
His favorite place to climb is definitely in his enclosure. He doesn't actually do a ton outside of his enclosure for climbing. Like I said, it takes him a little bit to acclimate to new places, and we do enjoy when he climbs because we want him to get an adequate amount of exercise each day. But we put up a lot of perching in his enclosure, and he climbs and navigates through his enclosure very, very well with his zygodactyl feet and his very strong beak.
We had a couple people asking how large his wingspan is.
Ooh, that's a good question. Let's see if he'll do a little wingspan for me. Eagle? Good. So I'm going to probably guess maybe
4 to 5 feet?
Yeah, 4 to 5 feet.
We've never really actually measured that. And then someone else was asking why does he always make those noises he's making right now while he's eating? Is that usual for him?
So it's normal for him when he is on my arm like this. Usually when he is in his enclosure and eating his breakfast and dinner and nobody's really bothering him very much, like if we're just walking around not paying attention, he's probably not going to do too much, but he might do a little bit of those grumbles. I'm sure some of you at home maybe say a nice little yum every time you eat your food, and that's kind of what he does too.
We had a couple questions of who his favorite zookeeper is, as well as does he have any best friends?
So his favorite zookeeper is definitely his other keeper, Julia. They spend a lot of time together. They do have like dancing sessions. Yes, he does love to listen to music, and they'll hang out and dance, and he loves to whistle and kind of move along to those beats.
We had a few people asking what he is eating currently right now, since it's not the nut anymore.
Yes, so he is currently eating, they're called like bird pellets, and they're just kind of, they're very hard to see, but they're just small brown pellets that are full of nutrients so that he stays healthy.
And then the most recent one, does it hurt when he's standing on you? Does his claws kind of dig in, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. So sometimes when they get extra long, yes, they can kind of be a little irritating to my arm. That's another reason why I'm wearing long sleeves today. But he's not gripping, so the pain isn't, or not really a lot of pain, but the uncomfortableness isn't from the grip. It's mainly just from the sharpness of the nails. So we do actually do nail trim sessions with him, and that is another trained behavior that we do. so that he feels comfortable, and we can easily just clip off those really sharp ends for him so it doesn't hurt our arm.
We had a question of where's his nose?
Where's his nose? So his nostrils are going to be right above his beak. Kind of where our eyebrows would be is where his nose is.
One person asked how long you specifically have been training him.
How long have I been training him? It's been a little while. Not a full year yet, but close to it. So we've been hanging out for a long time now, but that doesn't always mean that I'm going to be his favorite. Just because Julie and him has been hanging out way longer than we have, and it takes a long time to build relationships with animals, just like it takes a long time to build relationships with people as well.
So how do you build those relationships with Amborro?
So a lot of treats. So he gets a lot of treats from us, especially at the beginning, and he just gets free treats is what we call them. So he gets those items when we don't even ask for any behaviors, and we're not expecting him to be a little quieter on the arm like we are today or anything like that. So he gets those free treats at the beginning, and then we kind of do small works into getting him more excited to see us or just used to us being around. So we may walk into his enclosure a few times and give him some treats, palm open, kind of like this, to kind of get him more trusting of us.
My favorite question so far, what is his favorite music?
Oh, what is his favorite music? So he really enjoys show tunes and a little bit of rap here and there as well. Anything with a good beat, or he likes like high-pitched noises, like kind of more of like a whistly sound too. So anything that has that in it, he would probably enjoy.
We had a question of why are the other macaws that we see at the zoo red and Amborro is not?
Yes, so the red macaws are actually scarlet macaws, and he is a blue and gold macaw. So it's actually a different species.
All right. Is he around other macaws, or is he the only one that we have in our department?
So he is the only one that we have in our department. He, like I said a little bit earlier, is just more happy just kind of having his own space and not having to share it, so we allow him that ability.
All right, and then we had a couple people, I know we touched on it a little bit, but where did he come specifically? Like, was he born at the zoo? Did we get him? And if so, why do we have him?
So this is a very good thing to talk about. So he was actually at one point somebody's pet, and unfortunately that person had passed away, and his bird was still obviously alive. So this is a very, very special case of ours. We actually had a few connections to this person through the zoo, and were able at that time to take on this responsibility with him. So we were able to take him. And I'm not saying this in this person's case at all, but a lot of times people get larger parrots or just parrots in general and don't realize their lifespan, and that can be kind of difficult for that animal because normally a parrot's going to outlive their owner.
And then this particular species isn't rare or endangered?
No, this is a least concern on the endangered species list. Our endangered list, so yep, they have no concern really currently for endangerment in the wild.
Fun one that we get asked a lot on our programs is, does he ever poop on you when you're holding him?
Yes, all the time. So actually, I can kind of tell sometimes when he is about to use the bathroom, and he kind of fluffs up a little bit and sits down. So usually I can catch it before he's going to use the restroom on my clothes or anything, and we usually like to have something on the ground to catch it so we're not having him poop on other people's floors.
Yeah. In the wild, would he climb trees? So kind of like he does around in our enclosures a lot?
Yes, so macaws actually spend a lot of their time climbing as well. They do fly quite often, but on the other hand, they're either going to be perching or climbing. So they climb trees quite often to get different fruits. It's just a little easier to climb a tree than to keep hopping around and flying to each branch.
So is Amborro a he or a she?
Amborro is a male. So yes, he is a he.
All right. And then we've kind of talked about a lot of different things, but you'd mentioned that he can say words and such. How is it that he's able to say words? Like, how smart can these birds get?
Yeah, so these birds have the brain capacity of about a 2-year-old. So they are able, their vocal cords are a little bit more adapted to use larger words. So we call these guys talking birds or talking parrots. And there are some parrots that are not talking. So we do have a Senegal parrot as well that does not talk, but she does mimic noises.
And then maybe as our final question, because I've gotten it a lot and I haven't really gotten to it, what is his favorite color?
What is his favorite color? I don't have any idea what his favorite color is, but we're going to go ahead and say probably blue because that's what color he is. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We really, really appreciate it, and I hope we can bring some joy to this time that we're having currently. Thanks so much for staying in with us, and have a great day. Can we say bye?
All the birds.
Yes.
Yay! Yay! You did good, Amborro.
Yay! High five. Good.
There we go.